Bray Wyatt is reportedly out of action with an undisclosed physical issue after he missed the Madison Square Garden WWE live event this past weekend. We've got plenty of details on that, plus the now debunked rumours that he had walked out of WWE over creative issues over the weekend. We've got details on that. Speaking of people that aren't being used, what's going on with Roderick Strong? Apparently he's not being used and there's no reason as to why. We've got details on that. The Royal Rumble numbers were reportedly exaggerated by WWE this year. We're going to talk about which numbers we're talking about there. What's the latest when it comes to the power dynamic between Triple H and Vince McMahon? Cody Rhodes versus LA Knight is scheduled for Monday Night Raw tonight. Speaking of Raw, Sami Zayn reportedly is not scheduled for the show. Rich Holland has spoken out on the anniversary of Big E breaking his neck on SmackDown. The Michigan State has spoken about WWE possibly looking to legalize gambling on their product. Is the Intercontinental Championship going to main event WrestleMania Night 1 this year? The Undertaker reveals which iconic look is now retired from WWE television, and has Hulk Hogan just spoiled the next inductees into the Hall of Fame class of 2023? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. And the biggest story dominating today in the world of WWE is none other than Bray Wyatt, with a lot of rumours, surrounding his future, his absence, and really just what's going on with him in WWE at the moment. So this all starts because Bray Wyatt didn't appear where he was previously advertised to appear last night at Madison Square Garden. Of course, WWE returned to Madison Square Garden this past weekend. It was headlined by Austin Theory defending the United States Championship against Seth freaking Rollins inside of a steel cage. In addition to that, Charlotte Flair, she retained her SmackDown Women's title against Sonya Deville and Liv Morgan, and Cody Rhodes defeated Solo Sikoa by disqualification when the Usos got involved. That prompted Sami Zayn to come out. However, the big story, I suppose, is regarding a couple of superstars who were advertised to be on the show, and they were missing in action on Sunday night. That being Bray Wyatt and Omos. Now, this is why I guess the card is always subject to change. Now, Wyatt was initially supposed to take on LA Knight in a lights-out street fight, a rematch of their Royal Rumble clash, but according to PW Insider Elite, Knight only made a veiled reference to Wyatt's absence before calling out someone else to come and fight. That invitation was picked up by none other than Braun Strowman, of course, who does have an association with Bray Wyatt in the past when he was a member of the Wyatt family. Strowman, who then picked up the victory over LA Knight in the match. Now, Wyatt is not slated to be in Providence tonight for Monday Night Raw either, kind of halting his build to the presumed match at WrestleMania 39 between him and the almighty Bobby Lashley. Now, when it comes to Omos, and then we'll pivot back to Wyatt. As for Omos, he was advertised for MSG. He wound up not being on the show. However, it's believed he was already in Rhode Island in advance of Raw. He's set to face off against Brock Lesnar, his WrestleMania opponent. There's no issues when it comes to anything like that. But the big story was Bray Wyatt. Why wasn't he there? Now, there were these rumors, and this is the problem with social media nowadays, is I think these rumors came from Reddit or some very unverified sources or unverified journalists saying that he had walked out over creative disputes with WWE. Now, obviously, there are some things on Reddit that are true, but they're rumors and they have to then be confirmed by other sources, and they weren't, and people ran with it. And what we now have is maybe a better explanation of why Bray Wyatt wasn't on the MSG show this past weekend, and why his WrestleMania match with Bobby Lashley may be in jeopardy as we get closer to WrestleMania. Now, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Bray Wyatt's absence from an MSG live event on March 12 has a lot of fans concerned about his status. Now, Fightful has learned a little bit about it, at least what those within WWE are saying. And again, it could be PR from them, but this is certainly what the WWE sources are saying on the matter. Now, WWE sources familiar with the situation who have worked with Wyatt claim to Fightful that Bray Wyatt is currently sidelined with a, quote, physical issue, end quotes, and they're not sure on a return time as of right now. As I mentioned, there had been rumours that Wyatt had walked out of WWE due to creative issues, but thus far, Fightful, particularly Sean Ross Sapp, haven't been able to gain any information that would confirm that. That's not to say that it's not true, but they haven't been able to confirm it. The line they're getting right now is that Bray Wyatt is dealing with a physical issue. And they haven't been told that from anyone within the company thus far that Wyatt's walked out of the company over creative. Now, when it comes to Wyatt, he had been slated for other live events and episodes of SmackDown, but he was pulled from those due to the physical issues that WWE sources are claiming. However, even though he'd been sidelined, Bobby Lashley did continue the feud without Bray Wyatt being there, including last week in a backstage segment on Raw. We saw the week prior on SmackDown, Uncle Howdy attacked Bobby Lashley, not Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt wasn't there. Now, as of one point this past weekend, Bobby Lashley wasn't scheduled for Raw, suggesting that, again, there might not be any continuation of the Bray Wyatt-Bobby Lashley feud tonight on Monday's broadcast either. Now, almost weekly, Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy materials are sent to the site of SmackDown, but haven't been for the last 2 episodes of SmackDown, which again is curious. On a weekly basis, all of these Bray Wyatt, all of these Firefly Funhouse, all of these Uncle Howdys, all of these masks, they've all been sent to SmackDown, but for the last 2 weeks, they haven't been. Now, Fightful have been told that Bray hasn't been planned for creative for those shows and isn't scheduled for Raw. Now, they are going to reach out, and I do think there is more that's going to come out of this. Of course, we do know that Bray Wyatt was dealing with a broken finger. He broke it in one of his first matches back. I think it might have actually been his first match back, which ironically enough was at Madison Square Garden, I believe, against Jinder Mahal in December of last year. Since returning to WWE, of course, he's only wrestled one televised match, that being that Mountain Dew pitch black match at the Royal Rumble, which it's fair to say received a lukewarm reception at best from critics online. However, he has done matches, as I mentioned, at live events and dark matches with LA Knight, continuing that feud. But as of right now, WWE sources are claiming Bray Wyatt's absence is due to a physical issue. However, people are looking into these rumors. People are looking into the situation whereby, look, Vince McMahon's back in the company. Bray Wyatt and Vince McMahon had issues. That's what led to Bray Wyatt leaving in the first place, getting fired, getting released in the first place. In addition to that, the creative, certainly when it comes to Bray Wyatt, has suddenly, it's become quite convoluted and quite difficult to understand. It felt like a plan that was there seemingly wasn't. Remember when he first came back, there were discussions that all of this all of these big mysterious hints with Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt and all this kind of stuff, it was leading into a big WrestleMania feud, and it feels like that seemingly isn't the case at this point. Bray Wyatt had been pitched to work against Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar had turned it down. So Bray Wyatt is kind of in limbo a little bit as well. Now, to give a bit of an update when it comes to this too, in an update to the Bray Wyatt story, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, WWE Creative was told in recent weeks that Bray had been sidelined with an illness. There's no timetable on his return as of now, but they didn't expect it to be long term when they got the news. He hasn't been at recent live events or television. He also wasn't at the on the internal MSG rundowns as of Friday, which again is certainly interesting as well, because initially they're saying it's an undisclosed physical issue. Now Creative has been told it's an illness, so there is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and there's a lot of sort of vagueness around this story. And again, I'm sure it's a developing one. As I mentioned, according to Sean Ross Sapp, as of one point this weekend, Bobby Lashley wasn't set for Monday Night Raw. But again, anything can and will change when it comes to what ends up on the broadcast. So stay tuned regarding Bray Wyatt. It's certainly a developing story and something that I think will continue to get people talking, and people that have WWE sources will be asking major questions as of right now. Now, speaking of people that haven't been really seen on television, Roderick Strong, since the shift to NXT 2.0 back in September 2021, the focus of the developmental show completely shifted, focusing on younger athletes instead of the smaller independent wrestlers. Many of the black and gold mainstays have since departed the brand, either heading up to the main roster or leaving the company, but one remains still under an NXT contract. Former Undisputed Era member Roderick Strong has not been seen on WWE television for months, with him most recently seen as acting as the leader of the Diamond Mine faction, which has since slowly started to dissolve. Strong's involvement in the group was halted abruptly due to an injury he had suffered back in the summer of 2022. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that Strong is still under contract with the company, he just isn't being used currently. The reason behind Strong's NXT absence is not known. Strong has reportedly requested his release from the company multiple times, but his release was not granted due to his role in the Diamond Mine story. The 3 other Undisputed Era members have left the company, with all 3 landing in AEW at various points. Of course, Bobby Fish has since departed. I guess there is a feeling that Roderick Strong would end up back in AEW, or possibly in Ring of Honor. Of course, he's got history there as well. One thing's for certain, it feels unlikely that he's going to be seen again on NXT television. Now, the Royal Rumble, the numbers were reportedly exaggerated when it comes to ticket sales, which is nothing really new, particularly under the old regime. Now, this year's Royal Rumble was a huge success for WWE. The premium live event set records with a multi-million-dollar gate, but the reported information might not have been entirely accurate. A new WrestleNomics report reveals that WWE may have inflated the gate and ticket sales for the event, as they have the data to prove it. According to public records obtained by WrestleNomics from the city of San Antonio, the Royal Rumble, which emanated from the Alamo Dome, sold 44,569 tickets and made a profit of $7.3 million in revenue. However, WWE announced that the show generated $7.7 million in revenue, with 51,338 fans in attendance, while the reported evidence indicates that 42,928 tickets were scanned on the night. Meanwhile, ticket audit records obtained by WrestleNomics revealed 2,662 tickets were given away for free. The 51,338 figure may have been the result of WWE counting non-fans among the overall attendees, as one Alamo Dome staff member told the outlet that WWE counted anyone with a heartbeat in the final figure. Regarding the exaggerated attendance number, it's believed that WWE's director of TV event relations communicated with the Alamo Dome staff to determine the 51,338 figure in the lead up to the show. Before it even happened, that's the number that they were going with. Of course, WWE and other promotions providing alternative facts, if you will, regarding revenues and crowd is hardly a revelation. WWE has inflated the WrestleMania attendance record on several occasions to present an illusion of grandeur and extravagance, so the Royal Rumble story is merely the latest example of a long-standing trend or tradition when it comes to WWE. Additionally, WWE reported record revenue numbers in 2022, so the exaggerated Royal Rumble numbers shouldn't be interpreted as a sign of the promotion experiencing economic decline. It's not, it's just kind of what they do. I mean, even when they sold over 100,000 tickets for WrestleMania 32 back in 2016, Vince McMahon even admitted on a earnings call that it was basically every single person in the building, including himself, in that attendance number, so it's nothing really new. Speaking of Vince McMahon, what's the power dynamic like between WWE and Vince McMahon and Triple H in WWE right now? Now, there may have been more to Vince McMahon being backstage at Raw to see John Cena than meets the eye, according to one source. It had been previously reported that Vince McMahon was present in the gorilla position all night, but that he was not taking over the show or giving any instructions to the talent. Speaking on the Sunday night's main event show, Dave Meltzer shed some light on what he had been told when asked about McMahon visiting to see Cena, saying, quote, "That's what they want you to believe. Triple H was in charge. But I mean, he has influence on stuff now, and Triple H has even said so. You know, they talk about it. Triple H is the one in charge, but Vince offers his opinion, and that's natural. I talked to somebody there, you know, about that, like that night, and it was just like, that's what they want you to believe. But, you know, Levesque is the one in charge. He was the one giving all the orders and everything like that. But Vince was there, and whatever that means in the long run, you know, we'll see." He would then be asked if the only reason McMahon was backstage at Raw was to see Cena, concluding, quote, "I'm just kind of told it's more than that. When I said that's what they want you to believe, that's what that means, that there's more to it than that." Of course, it was also reported that Vince was sporting a new look when he was backstage at Raw last week with jet black hair or darker hair or dyed hair and a new mustache. We're still waiting for those pictures. Speaking of Raw this week, a big match seemingly has been announced for the show. It's been quite a day for a SmackDown star who started the day by demanding a WrestleMania moment of his own. Earlier today, LA Knight had taken to Twitter to demand a WrestleMania moment on April 1st and 2nd. The tweet was noticed by WWE Twitter and subsequently retweeted. Whilst Cody Rhodes did his own challenge at the upcoming two-night event, he did lay out an opportunity for the SmackDown star if he could get to Providence, Rhode Island for the March 13 episode of Raw. LA Knight has now responded to the challenge using Twitter, once again replying to the challenge from Rhodes with, quote, "Whatever any of this gobbledygook meant, it's amazing all these top guys feel the need to be in my business. Threaten much? The answer is clearly yeah. I can be there in a couple of hours, but practice, buckle up for a long night, my guys." So seemingly we're going to be getting LA Knight versus Cody Rhodes tonight on Raw. And there had been some weird rumors about LA Knight possibly being involved in a segment with a certain Hell Yeah, Hall of Famer this coming at the upcoming WrestleMania event. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Raw, one person seemingly not scheduled for tonight's show is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has been a mainstay of WWE television in recent weeks, appearing on just about every episode of Raw and many times on SmackDown as well. According to a new report, though, from PW Insider Elite, Zayn will not be at tonight's Raw. For months, Zayn has been a major part of WWE's hottest storyline, which chronicled Zayn's involvement with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. The latest update to the story occurred this past Friday on SmackDown, with Zayn joining Cody Rhodes at the end of the show to attack Jimmy and Jey Uso after Jey explained why he sided with the Bloodline over Zayn. At the Royal Rumble in January, Zayn's time in the Bloodline came to an end when he attacked Roman Reigns for pressuring him to demolish Kevin Owens with a chair. That development led to a match between Zayn and Reigns at the Elimination Chamber event in Montreal, Quebec, Canada last month. Zayn came up short, and in the aftermath of the match, Owens came out to defend him from members of the Bloodline. However, in the time since, Owens has stated that he was simply looking for revenge for himself, and the bond between Owens and Zayn has yet to be fully required and repaired. Again, it is expected that Zayn will indeed team up with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania to challenge the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles, but as of right now, that match has not been officially confirmed by WWE. Now, we spoke previously about Big E and his road to recovery. It was pretty much a year ago to this day, or a couple of days ago, whenever it was, March 11, 2 days ago, that Big E suffered a year that he suffered his broken neck injury. And obviously, lots of people talking about it, and it's led to some real horrible situations when it comes to Ridge Holland online. Of course, as I mentioned, March 11, 2023 marked 1 year since Big E suffered a potentially career-ending broken neck during a match on SmackDown when he was on the receiving end of a belly-to-belly overhead suplex from Ridge Holland on the outside of the ring. He had a horrific landing that caused fractures to his C1 and C6 vertebrae, and the injury has kept him out of the ring since and could continue to for a lot longer, if not forever. Unfortunately, something like that is always just one accidental misstep away during any match, and it could really happen to any wrestler at any time. But some people have decided Ridge Holland deserves to be subjected to some awful abuse because of it. Last night, that being March 2nd, Holland tweeted, quote, "Death threats, threats to my family, lobbying for me to lose my job, being labelled as a racist, great stuff, keep them coming." Both Holland and Big E have spoken since the incident about Holland going to visit E in hospital and buying him gifts to apologise, although on the funny side, the gifts were red meat, which E doesn't eat, as he had to give some of them to his friends, but he did appreciate the gesture. Sometimes it's just best to keep in mind that if you don't really know anything about what you're talking about, especially if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And it was clearly an accident, and people just take this stuff way too seriously and go way too over the line, and it's just ridiculous. Now, let's switch gears and talk about this big story regarding WWE wanting people to bet on their matches, and the Michigan Gaming Control Board have commented on WWE legalizing betting and those rumors and those talks. As previously reported, WWE are in talks with state regulators in Colorado and Michigan to legalize betting on high-profile matches in the company. The promotion have already registered with the Indiana Gaming Commission, but the Colorado Division of Gaming is not currently considering allowing sports betting wagers on WWE matches. On Thursday, the Michigan Gaming Control Board made a statement on WWE's attempt to legalize betting on matches. They wrote the following, quote, "The Michigan Gaming Control Board has not held direct communications with officials from World Wrestling Entertainment about offering legal wagering in Michigan on its events. Any request for inclusion in Michigan's sports wagering catalog must be submitted to the MGCB by a Michigan licensed operator or platform provider, and the agency has not received a formal request regarding WWE events wagering," said Henry Williams, MGCB Executive Director. "The WWE should work with the gaming industry if it wishes to bring a proposal before the MGCB." A third-party consultant approached the MGCB more than a year ago about a proposal to add WWE events to Michigan's wagering catalog, but the agency has received no further information. The MGCB receives catalog requests only from licensed sportsbook operators. The sports wagering catalog provides guidance and lists leagues, events, and wagers allowed in Michigan. When the catalog is updated, it is shared publicly on the MGCB's website with sportsbook operators. Quote, "The Michigan Gaming Control Board shall ensure the conduct of fair and honest gaming to protect the interests of the citizens of the state of Michigan." Now, a WWE spokesperson has declined to comment on this report as of right now at the time of recording, but it is something that is ongoing, and we'll hear more about it, I suppose, in the coming days, particularly as we get closer to WrestleMania, one would think. Now, could we see a quite surprising main event for WrestleMania Night 1 this year? Well, just maybe, I guess. With Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns set to main event Night 2 of the show, many WWE superstars are currently fighting for the spot to main event WrestleMania 39 Night 1. Sheamus took to Twitter earlier today to hype his #1 contenders match with Drew McIntyre on this week's edition of SmackDown, with the winner earning a shot at Gunther's Intercontinental Championship in Los Angeles. In the tweet, Sheamus said the winner of the match would receive an Intercontinental title match main event at WrestleMania 39 Night 1. Obviously, this is not confirmation that that match would take the place in the main event of the show's first night, and is likely just Sheamus being ambitious, but the wording of the tweet does seemingly confirm that the match itself will take place on Night 1. Of course, WWE often advertises multiple main events for big shows, so the match will likely be advertised as such, even if it doesn't actually, close the night. But certainly, it's interesting that Sheamus would refer to it as that. There have been rumours, of course, that it's actually going to end up as a triple threat match at WrestleMania, but we'll have to wait and see what happens Friday night on SmackDown. Now, the iconic look of The Undertaker, the dead man in the hat and the long coat, may seemingly be gone for good. The Undertaker made a surprise appearance, advertised appearance actually, on the Raw 30 show back in January, surprising the crowd by appearing as the American Badass for the segment with Bray Wyatt and LA Knight. Since Taker retired from the ring, he has begun to pull the curtain back on his character and let fans more into the life of Mark Calaway. The shift from The Undertaker to Mark Calaway led him to making a lot fewer appearances as the dead man, and we could have seen the last of the iconic character on WWE television. When discussing the appearance at Raw 30 with Ariel Helwani, Taker said that those within the company had a different vision, believing he was going to come out with his classic hat and coat. He said, quote, "They had a different vision. They didn't even know that I wasn't going to have the hat and coat. They totally thought I was coming out as the old Undertaker. I was like, no, that's part of me, and that's the storytelling, right? When I lifted the curtain, when I lifted it back and pulled it back, that's gone. It's gone now." Helwani asked Taker if he's done with that iconic part of his career, to which Taker confirmed, quote, "I won't bring the hat and coat back out, no." So seemingly we're going to see more of Mark Calaway, the American Badass, on WWE television, as opposed to the iconic version of the dead man. Finally, Hulk Hogan may have spoiled who could be next inductees, or certainly some inductees, into the Hall of Fame class of this year. Rey Mysterio, of course, was announced as the first inductee this past Friday on SmackDown, and then Hulk Hogan uploaded a video to his YouTube channel where he reacted to the news of Rey's induction. He said, quote, I'm not going to do the impression, "You know, maniacs, I was watching the WWE the other night, and I was really curious who was the first inductee into the 2023 Hall of Fame. Oh my gosh, it's Rey Mysterio. No one is more deserving than a champion, a great man, a great father, and a great husband. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. For years and years, he's carried the torch." Hogan then carried on, saying that he's been thinking about who could be next inducted into the Hall of Fame, where he named former WWE Tag Team Champions the Rougeau brothers. Interestingly, Hogan finished the video by seemingly hinting that he knows the pair are set to be honoured. He said, quote, "But then I thought, who could be next? Who could be just as deserving? And then my first thought was one of the greatest tag teams of all time, the Rougeau brothers. Jack Rougeau's brother and his brother Raymond Rougeau. Those two guys need to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm voting for them. Hopefully they'll be the next inductees into the Hall of Fame, man. I think it just might happen. I got a really good feeling about that one, brother." So maybe the Rougeaus are next into the Hall of Fame. But there you go, guys. This latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.